The city was silent. Broken walls stood like skeletons against the night sky. Smoke drifted from crumbled towers, and the ground was still warm from the fire of battle. A lone human soldier walked carefully down the empty street, his boots crunching on glass and ash, his rifle steady in his hands. The air smelled of dust and fear, and every corner felt like a trap waiting to spring. He had been separated from his unit hours ago. The comms were dead. The sky was filled with static, and now he was moving through the ruins alone. The only sound was the distant crackle of burning metal and the low groan of collapsing buildings. He did not expect to find anyone alive here. Then it happened, a sudden sound, small and fragile, a quick patter of feet against broken stone. The soldier raised his weapon instantly, his eyes scanning the shadows between the shattered walls. His breath slowed, his finger resting on the trigger, waiting for an enemy ambush. But what stepped into the light was no soldier. It was a girl, small, trembling, her skin faintly glowing blue under the pale moonlight. Her hair was silver, long and tangled. Her wide eyes shone like stars filled with terror. She stumbled forward, her thin legs weak, and before the soldier could even react, she ran straight to him. She pressed herself against his armored leg, clutching him with both hands. Her little fingers gripped the metal plates so tightly her knuckles turned white. The soldier froze, completely stunned. A child, here, alone, in the middle of a battlefield. He looked down at her, his rifle still raised toward the dark alley she had come from. Her body was shaking, her breath short and broken. He lowered his weapon slowly, glancing at her face. She did not look like any human child. Her skin shimmered faintly, her small ears tapered to points, and her eyes were too large, too bright, an alien child. The soldier's heart pounded. Why was she here? Why had she run to him? And what was she hiding from? The girl's voice trembled as she whispered something in her own language. The words were soft, broken, but filled with desperation. He could not understand them, but the meaning was clear. She was begging for safety, begging for him not to leave her. The soldier crouched down, trying to meet her eyes. "It's all right," he said softly, though he knew she could not understand his words. Still, his tone made her grip tighten. She pressed herself deeper against his armor, as if he were the only shield left in the world. From the shadows came another sound, a low growl mixed with the buzz of mechanical wings. The soldier snapped his head up, his instincts flaring. Something was out there, something hunting her. The girl whimpered and hid her face against him. The soldier adjusted his rifle, his fingers sliding back toward the trigger. His mind raced. He could leave her and survive, or he could protect her and face whatever was coming. Her tiny hand pulled at him again, gripping so hard it almost hurt. The soldier looked at her one last time, her glowing eyes filled with fear and innocence. Something inside him shifted. He had seen too many dead, too many lost in this war. But this child, this alien girl, reminded him of what was worth saving. He stood tall, pulling her gently behind him, his armor heavy, his weapon ready. The street was silent again, too silent. The soldier's breath steadied, his eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. The girl clung to him, trembling, refusing to let go. And in that moment, he knew his mission had changed. He was no longer just a soldier trying to survive. He had become her protector. And as the growls grew closer, echoing through the ruins, he whispered under his breath, "Whoever you are, whatever you are safe with me." But deep inside, he also knew the truth. Whatever was hunting her was coming fast, and it would not stop. The ruins were alive again. Shadows twisted in the corners of the street. The growls and buzzing grew louder, and the soldier tightened his grip on his rifle. The alien girl's tiny hands clung to his armor, her breathing fast, her glowing eyes wide with terror. She was shaking, pressing her face against the metal as if trying to vanish inside it. The soldier scanned the darkness, every muscle tense. He had fought enemies before, but this felt different. He was not alone anymore. He had someone to protect. He crouched and whispered softly, though he knew she would not understand. "Stay close. Don't let go." She whimpered in response but nodded faintly, as if the tone alone gave her comfort. From the broken walls, a shape appeared, thin legs clicking against stone, a machine built for hunting. Its metal frame glowed faint red in the mist, its sharp limbs scraping as it moved. The soldier recognized it instantly, a tracker drone, built to find survivors and drag them back to enemy hands. The soldier raised his rifle and fired. The blast echoed through the ruins. Sparks flew as the drone collapsed, twitching on the ground. The girl gasped and hid her face, her small fingers gripping tighter. More shadows moved, more drones closing in. Their buzzing filled the street like angry wasps. The soldier grabbed the girl and pulled her into an alley, running fast, his armor heavy, her small body light against his chest, but every step echoed in the silence. He turned corners, past collapsed bridges and shattered walls, trying to lose their trail. The girl clung to him, whispering the same alien word again and again. Her voice was broken, almost like a prayer. The soldier wished he could understand, wished he could tell her it would be all right, but all he could do was run. Behind them, red lights glowed in the mist, hunting, searching. The soldier's heart pounded. He had been trained for war, but this was different. It was not about orders or missions anymore. It was about survival, not just for him, but for her. Finally, he slid into a ruined building, pushing the broken door shut behind him. He crouched in the darkness, his rifle ready. The girl pressed against his chest. Her heartbeat was fast, too fast. He whispered softly, "Shh, it's okay, they won't find us," though deep down he was not sure. Minutes passed like hours. The buzzing outside grew faint, then vanished. Only the sound of crackling fire and falling stone remained. The soldier lowered his weapon slowly. He felt her trembling against him. She was so small, so fragile, yet somehow still alive in this nightmare. He set her down gently. Her eyes shimmered in the dim light. Filled with tears she tried to hold back. She pointed to her chest, then to the soldier, then back to the door. Her gestures were desperate. The soldier frowned, trying to understand. She was not just asking for safety. She was begging him not to leave her. Her small hands reached out, clutching his glove, pulling it closer to her. She whispered the same word again, louder this time. Her voice cracked, tears slipping down her glowing cheeks. The soldier felt a sting in his chest. She was not just scared. She was alone, utterly alone. He knelt and placed a hand gently on her shoulder, his voice steady though his heart was heavy. "I won't leave you." She looked at him, her eyes wide and wet, and for the first time, she managed a tiny nod. Outside, the night grew darker, the ruins colder, but inside that broken building, a fragile bond had been formed, a bond stronger than orders, stronger than fear. The soldier realized something. He was not carrying a burden, he was carrying hope. But as the silence wrapped around them, the soldier knew the truth. The enemy would not stop. They were searching, they wanted her, and soon they would return in greater numbers. The soldier looked at the girl, her small hands still gripping his, her eyes shining in the shadows. He whispered to himself, "Whatever happens, I'll protect you." His words were a promise, a vow carved into the night. And though the girl could not understand the language, she seemed to feel the meaning. For the first time, her trembling slowed, her breathing calmed. She leaned against him, her small frame resting in trust. But then, from far away, came a sound, a horn, loud and metallic, echoing across the ruins. The girl's body stiffened, her eyes wide again. That sound was not just a call, it was a signal, and whatever it meant, it was coming straight for them. The metallic horn echoed across the ruins, sharp and haunting. It was not just a warning, it was a call, a command. The soldier froze for a moment, his instincts screaming. He had heard many signals during war, but this one was different. The girl's reaction told him everything. Her small body tensed, her eyes wide with panic. She pressed against him, whispering that strange word again and again. He pulled her close, lifting his rifle as his eyes scanned the darkness. Then the ground shook, heavy footsteps thundering through the ruins. Dust fell from broken ceilings, stones cracked under unseen weight. The soldier's pulse quickened. He looked down at the girl, her face pale and glowing, tears shining like stars in her eyes. She was terrified, and now so was he. From the shadows emerged tall machines, hunters made of steel, towering over rubble with glowing red eyes. Their arms were long, fitted with blades and claws. Their heads turned sharply, scanning every corner. The soldier knew what they were: enforcers, killers designed not only to capture, but to destroy. He grabbed the girl and moved fast, slipping out the back of the ruined building. His boots slammed against the cracked pavement as he carried her. The night was alive with the sound of machines, buzzing drones above, metallic hunters below, red lights sweeping across the ruins like predators searching for prey. The girl buried her face in his armor, clinging tightly. The soldier's breath was rough, his lungs burning. But he kept running. He turned through broken alleys, leaping over fallen beams, sliding under shattered metal. Every move was survival. Every step was 1 second bought against death. Then, a beam of red light cut across the alley ahead. He stopped instantly, pressing against the wall. He held the girl close as the red beam scanned the ground. The machine's sensors hummed. Moving closer, the soldier closed his eyes for 1 heartbeat, then pulled a small device from his belt. He threw it hard down the street. The device exploded in a flash of light and static. The hunter turned, chasing the distraction. The soldier ran again, deeper into the ruins. He could feel her tears against his chest, hear her whispers, soft, broken. She was begging him not to stop, not to leave her. He tightened his grip, whispering back, "I won't, I promise." Though he knew she could not understand the words, only the feeling. Minutes felt like hours. Every sound, every shadow was a threat. The soldier finally ducked into an underground passage, a collapsed metro tunnel half filled with rubble. The air was thick with dust and cold. The darkness wrapped around them. But it was cover, at least for now. He set her down gently. She clung to his arm, refusing to let go. Her glowing eyes searched the tunnel, her breaths quick and shaky. The soldier knelt beside her, his chest still heaving, his hands steady on his rifle. He listened, every sense sharp, waiting for the hunters above. Then, she touched his hand. He looked at her, surprised. Her small finger traced a symbol on the dirt floor, the same one she had drawn before, a circle with lines crossing through it. Her voice trembled as she whispered again, repeating the word she had said since the beginning. The soldier frowned, trying to understand. He pointed to himself, then repeated the word softly. Her eyes lit for a moment. She nodded quickly, repeating it with tears, her hands shaking as she pointed to her chest, then back to him. It struck him then. The word was not random. It was a name, her name. She had been telling him all along, begging him to remember. He whispered it back carefully, shaping it with his voice. The sound was strange, alien, but she smiled faintly through her tears. She nodded, pressing her forehead against his armor. For a brief moment, the world was quiet. The bond between them grew stronger, stronger than orders, stronger than fear. She was not just an alien child anymore. She was someone with a name, someone who had chosen him. But the peace broke quickly. A deep metallic roar shook the tunnel. The walls trembled, dust falling from the ceiling. The enforcers had found the passage, their red eyes glowing in the distance, their steps heavy, relentless. The soldier stood, pulling her close again, his rifle ready, his voice low but firm. "Stay behind me." She gripped his armor, refusing to let go. The tunnel lit with red beams, the machines advancing, their claws sparking against the stone. The soldier's breath slowed, his heart heavy, but his will iron. He had made a promise, and he would keep it. He fired the first shot, the blast echoing through the underground. The girl flinched but held tighter. The machines roared, moving faster. The soldier whispered under his breath, not for himself, but for her, "I'll protect you, no matter what." And as the machines closed in, their red lights burning like fire, the soldier prepared to fight, knowing the chase was only beginning. The tunnel shook with every step of the machines above. Dust rained down. The walls groaned, and the sound of metal claws scraping against stone echoed like thunder. The soldier's rifle was hot in his hands, his breath steady but sharp. His body stood between the girl and the shadows ahead. He fired again, the flash of blue light cutting through the dark. A machine staggered, sparks bursting from its chest. But 2 more crawled forward, their red eyes glowing like fire in the dust. The girl pressed against his leg, her small hands shaking. Her voice trembled as she whispered her name again and again, as if calling for strength. The soldier pushed her back gently, signaling her to stay low. He charged forward, blasting at the nearest enforcer. The air filled with the sound of gunfire and screeching metal. He kicked one of the machines down, its body crashing against stone. His muscles ached, his armor heavy, but his will burned brighter. Finally, silence returned. broken only by his rough breathing. The tunnel was littered with sparking debris. The soldier wiped sweat from his brow, his chest rising and falling. The girl looked up at him, her wide, glowing eyes full of something new. Not just fear, but hope. He knelt beside her, placing a hand on her small shoulder. She leaned into him, trembling. Her tears glistened in the dim light. He whispered softly, "It's all right now," though his heart knew danger was never far. Then, she surprised him. She lifted her hand and placed it against his chest plate, her fingers glowing faintly. A warm light spread through the metal, seeping into his skin. For a moment, he felt the pain in his body ease, the bruises lightening, the cuts burning less. He stared at her, shocked. She looked down, ashamed, as if afraid of what he had seen. She drew that same circle with lines again in the dirt, whispering the word softly, her name. But now it meant more. She was showing him something, telling him who she really was. The soldier frowned, watching closely. She drew another shape, a crest, more detailed this time, a mark that glowed faintly in the dust. He recognized it. He had seen it once, painted on banners, carved into enemy armor. It was not just a symbol, it was a royal seal. His chest tightened. He understood now. She was not just an alien child. She was a daughter of power, a bloodline the enemy wanted. Her capture was not about survival. It was about control. Whoever held her would control her people. She saw the realization in his eyes. Her lips trembled, and she shook her head, whispering quickly, begging him not to give her away. Her tears fell faster. She was terrified of being taken, not just for herself, but for what it would mean for her kind. The soldier sat back, his thoughts heavy. He had stumbled into something far greater than a simple mission. Protecting her was no longer about pity or instinct. It was about destiny, about holding a key to the fate of a world. The girl clung to him again, her small body pressed against his chest. She whispered in her broken voice, "Safe." A single word he understood. He froze, shocked. That one word in his language, clear as water. She looked at him with pleading eyes, repeating, "Safe." His throat tightened. He nodded slowly. "Yes, safe," he whispered back. She smiled faintly through her tears, the first fragile smile since he found her. But their moment ended too quickly. A deep rumble shook the tunnel, far stronger than before. The walls cracked, stones crashing down. The girl screamed and held him tight. The soldier pulled her close and shielded her body as rubble fell around them. Through the cracks in the tunnel, he saw lights, not red this time, but white, sharp, and blinding, dozens of them, flooding the underground with a glow. The enemy was no longer hunting silently. They were closing in with full force. The soldier's mind raced. He had limited ammo, no backup, and a child who was not only helpless but vital. Yet as he looked at her glowing face, her tears, and her trust in him, he felt something stir in his chest, stronger than fear, stronger than duty. He stood again, lifting his rifle, his voice steady as he looked into the oncoming light. "I'll protect you," he said once more, not just a promise but a vow that echoed louder than the machines. The girl gripped his hand, her tiny fingers glowing with faint energy. Together, they faced the approaching storm. And though the enemy came with power and numbers, the soldier knew one truth. He would not let them take her, not while he still drew breath. The tunnel shook as the bright white lights poured in. Dust swirled in the air. The soldier's finger tightened on the trigger. His eyes narrowed as rows of armored machines stepped forward, their heavy frames clanking against the stone floor, red symbols glowing across their bodies. The girl hid behind him, clutching his armor, her glowing skin trembling like a candle flame in the wind. The soldier felt her heartbeat through his chest plate, fast and uneven. He whispered over his shoulder, "Stay low, stay behind me." His words were calm, but inside he knew the truth. This fight was almost impossible. The machines advanced slowly, confident. Their weapons crackled with energy. They had come prepared to capture, not destroy. The soldier fired first, blue blasts cutting through the shadows. One machine collapsed, sparks flying. Another staggered, but more replaced it. The girl gasped, her voice breaking as she cried out in her language. Her small hands glowed faintly again, gripping his armor tighter. The soldier did not notice at first, too focused on the battle. But then, as he reloaded, He felt a strange warmth flow through him. His arms steadied. His vision sharpened. The pain in his side faded. He glanced at her, shocked. Her small hands glowed like fireflies pressed against him. She was giving him something: energy, strength. Her tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered again and again, almost chanting. Her power flowed into him, and his body felt renewed. The soldier roared and fired again, stronger than before. His blasts tore through the machines, one by one. The tunnel filled with sparks and smoke, metal bodies crashing to the ground. The machines hesitated, almost as if surprised. For a moment, the human and the child stood unstoppable. But the girl collapsed suddenly, her glow flickering. The soldier caught her quickly, kneeling beside her, her small face pale, her breath shallow. She had given too much. She looked up at him, whispering softly, her voice fragile, "Safe." The soldier's heart clenched. He realized the truth. Her power was not endless. She could heal, she could give strength, but every time she did, it drained her life. That was why the enemy wanted her, not just because of her bloodline, but because of what she carried inside her. He stared at the wreckage around them, sparks still falling like stars. He understood now. She was more than a child, more than a daughter of royalty. She was a weapon, a key that could turn the tide of war. Whoever controlled her would control life itself. The girl reached weakly for his hand. He gripped it tightly, his voice steady though his chest ached. "I won't let them take you." She blinked slowly, her glowing eyes soft, a tear slipping down her cheek. She believed him. The soldier lifted her gently, carrying her in his arms. He moved deeper into the tunnel, stepping over broken machines. Every sound echoed too loudly. Every shadow felt alive. He had bought them time, but not victory. As they walked, the girl stirred faintly. She pointed weakly toward a broken wall. The soldier followed her gesture, pushing aside rubble. Behind it was an old passage, hidden, narrow, leading deeper into the earth. The girl whispered a word again, not her name this time, but something else. It sounded sacred, heavy with meaning. The soldier followed, his boots crunching over stone. The passage led into a chamber, its walls carved with symbols that glowed faintly when the girl entered. The air shifted, heavy with something ancient. The soldier stared in awe. He had stumbled into something forgotten, something meant only for her kind. The girl touched the wall with her small, glowing hand. The symbols lit brighter, filling the chamber with light. She looked at him, her voice trembling but clear enough to understand one word in his tongue again: home. The soldier's chest tightened. He realized this was no random tunnel. This was a sanctuary, a hidden place of her people, maybe the last safe place left. But even as the light surrounded them, the soldier knew it would not last. The enemy would not stop. They would come. They would break through. They would hunt her until the stars burned out. He tightened his grip on his rifle, his other arm holding her close, his eyes hard, his jaw firm. He whispered to her softly, a vow that echoed louder than the silence. "They will have to go through me first." And as the walls glowed brighter, casting shadows across his scarred face and her innocent one, the soldier understood the weight of the truth. Protecting her was no longer just survival. It was the fate of a people, and maybe even the fate of humanity itself. The chamber glowed with strange light, the ancient walls alive with symbols that pulsed softly like a heartbeat. The girl's hand still touched the stone, her small body trembling. The soldier kept her close, his rifle ready. His eyes never left the dark passage behind them. He knew the machines would come. They always came. The air grew colder. A low hum filled the tunnels. The sound of claws against stone echoed closer and closer. Then came the heavy thud of metal steps. Not one, but many. The soldier's grip tightened. He adjusted his stance, steady, calm, ready. The girl whimpered, pressing against him. Her voice whispered his name, broken, weak, but filled with trust. The first machine entered, its red eyes glowing in the sacred light. It hesitated, scanning the chamber as if the symbols unsettled it. But then more followed, their claws clicking, their frames scraping against the stone, a dozen of them at least, maybe more, filling the passage with red fire. The soldier raised his rifle and fired. The blast tore through the nearest machine, sparks spraying across the chamber. The girl cried out, covering her ears. The sound of battle roared, blasts echoing, metal shattering. He fired again and again, moving to shield her with his body. Each step of the machines pushed him back, but he did not break. The girl clutched his arm, her eyes glowing brighter now. Her tears streamed down, but her hands lit up. She pressed them against the floor. The symbols on the wall responded, flaring with sudden light. The chamber shook, a surge of energy rippling outward. The machines froze for a moment, their systems flickering. The soldiers seized the chance, unleashing a storm of fire. Machine after machine fell, their bodies collapsing in sparks. But more kept coming, unstoppable. Their glowing red eyes locked on the girl, ignoring the human. They wanted her, needed her. One lunged forward, its claw raised to strike. The soldier pushed the girl aside and slammed into it. His rifle smashed against its head, the blast at point blank tearing it apart. Metal shards cut into his arm. Blood seeped beneath his armor. But he stayed on his feet. His will burned hotter than pain. The girl screamed, her small hands glowing brighter. She lifted them toward the machines, and light burst from her like a wave. The walls of the chamber blazed with ancient fire. The machines staggered, their claws screeching, their red eyes dimming. The energy from her body surged outward, raw and wild. The soldier shielded his eyes from the glow. He could feel the heat, the power. It was like standing at the heart of a star. The machines collapsed one by one, their systems frying, sparks erupting from every joint. The chamber filled with the sound of their deaths. But when the light faded, the girl fell to her knees, her small body weak, her glow fading to almost nothing. The soldier rushed to her, kneeling, pulling her into his arms. Her breaths were shallow, her eyes half closed. She had given too much again. He held her tightly, his heart pounding with fear. "Stay with me," he whispered, his voice rough, desperate. She looked up faintly, her lips trembling, and whispered one word again, "Safe." Her tiny fingers gripped his hand weakly, then loosened. The soldier felt his throat tighten, his rage burned. He looked at the wreckage of the machines, sparks still flickering, and he swore no more would touch her. He stood, carrying her again, his steps heavy but unbroken, his will unshaken. From the tunnel came another sound, not claws, not machines, but voices, dozens of them, human voices. The soldier froze, his grip tightened around the girl. Was it rescue, or another trap? Light spilled into the chamber, this time not red, not cold, but human light. Soldiers in battered armor appeared, their banners marked with familiar symbols. They raised their weapons but stopped when they saw him. Their commander stepped forward, his eyes narrowing, not at the soldier, but at the girl in his arms. The commander's voice echoed, "Hand her over, now." His tone was sharp, not gentle, not kind. The soldier's chest tightened. He looked down at the fragile child in his arms, her face pale, her trust still clinging to him even in weakness. He knew what handing her over would mean. She would become a tool, a weapon, not a child. The soldier's rifle rose slowly, his voice firm, low, like stone grinding against stone. "She stays with me." The humans froze, weapons aimed, tension filling the chamber. The girl stirred faintly, her glowing eyes opening just enough to see his face. She smiled weakly, whispering the word once more, "Safe." The soldiers stood tall, the chamber glowing faintly around them. He was outnumbered, outgunned, but his vow was unbreakable. If he had to fight his own kind, he would. If he had to face the whole galaxy, he would. Because in his arms was not just an alien child, not just a secret, she was hope. And he would not let hope fall, not while he still breathed. The chamber grew colder as the human soldiers stood with weapons raised. The air was thick with tension, the flickering glow of the ancient walls painting shadows across their helmets. The commander's voice was sharp, echoing, "She belongs to us now. Hand her over." The soldier tightened his hold on the alien girl. Her fragile body rested in his arms, her breath soft but uneven. She stirred faintly, opening her glowing eyes to look at him. Even in her weakness, her small lips formed the word she had clung to since the beginning, "Safe." His chest tightened. He had fought enemies, machines, and death itself to protect her. Now his own kind stood before him, demanding he give her up. His eyes met the commander's, and he spoke firmly, "She's not a weapon. She's a child. She stays with me." The other soldiers shifted uneasily. Their rifles trembled in their hands. Some looked at the girl with curiosity, some with fear, but the commander's eyes were cold. He stepped forward. You don't understand, soldier. She is the key. With her power, we can end this war. Think about it. Millions of lives saved. The soldier's jaw tightened. His voice was rough, steady. And what about her life? Do we sacrifice her innocence for victory? Do we chain a child to save ourselves? The commander frowned. His patience gone. He raised his hand, and weapons clicked into place. The sound echoed like thunder in the chamber. The girl clung tighter to the soldier, her weak fingers gripping his armor, her eyes wide, pleading for a heartbeat. The soldier considered it. If he gave her up, maybe the war would end. Maybe humanity would be safe. But then he looked at her face, glowing softly in the dim light, innocent, fragile, and filled with trust. And he knew the truth. To give her up was not salvation, it was betrayal. He lowered her gently to the ground, placing her behind him. His rifle rose again, his stance strong, his voice cut through the silence. If you want her, you'll have to come through me. The chamber froze. The soldiers hesitated, not because of his words, but because of his eyes. There was no doubt, no fear, only unbreakable resolve. The commander's hand twitched, but then the ground trembled again. The chamber walls shook, dust rained down. From the tunnels came another sound, deeper, heavier than before. The machines had returned, stronger, relentless. The enemy had tracked her here. The humans turned, their formation breaking. The soldier seized the chance. He grabbed the girl, lifting her into his arms once more. He ran through a side passage as chaos erupted, gunfire and explosions tearing through the chamber. The tunnels shook violently. The soldier's lungs burned, his legs heavy, but he pushed forward. The girl clung to him weakly, whispering that one word, safe, over and over. Her voice cracked, fragile, but it kept him moving. Finally, he emerged into the night. The ruins stretched before them, smoke rising into the stars. The horizon glowed with fire. The machines were everywhere, their red lights moving like swarms of predators. The soldier stumbled into a broken courtyard, placing the girl down gently. He knelt before her, his eyes heavy with pain. He cupped her small face in his hands. I promised you safety, he whispered, his voice breaking. But I can't fight them all, not alone. Her eyes shimmered, tears falling. She reached for his hand, her glow flickering like a dying flame. She whispered again, safe, as if telling him he had already kept his promise. The machines closed in, their red glow lighting the ruins. The soldier stood tall, his rifle ready, his body a shield between her and the darkness, his heart heavy, but his will unshaken. He roared and fired, blast after blast, sparks lighting the night. The machines fell, but more came. His armor cracked, his body bled, but he did not stop. The girl's voice cried out behind him, tears streaming, her small hands glowing faintly as she tried to help. Then, in one final burst, her light exploded outward, brighter than ever before. A wave of pure energy surged through the ruins. The machines screamed as their systems fried, collapsing one by one. The fire faded, and silence fell. The soldier staggered, his rifle falling from his hand. He turned to her, his chest rising and falling. Her small body lay on the ground, her glow fading fast, her eyes half closed. She smiled faintly, whispering her last word to him, safe, before her hand slipped from his. The soldier's knees hit the ground. His throat burned as his heart shattered. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly, rocking her gently as if she were only sleeping. His tears mixed with the dust and ash around them. The night was quiet again, only the sound of fire crackling in the distance. The soldier looked to the stars, whispering with a voice that trembled, I couldn't save the world, but I saved you. And though her body was still, her glow gone, the bond they shared remained, carved forever in his heart. He had protected her until the very end. And in the silence of that broken world, his vow remained unbroken.